new missions. Soldiers focus on improving security and life in Iraq in 2008. Welcome to Army Newswatch. I'm Sergeant Stephen Smith.
And I'm Sergeant Courtney Thomas. We'll also head to the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, where the Army scores a recruiting touchdown. But first, let's take a look at what's going on around the Army.
The Army will increase its numbers by more than 74,000 troops between 2008 and 2013.
Do solemnly swear.
The Grow the Army initiative is part of the President's plan to meet strategic demands and mitigate persistent capability shortfalls. It will also help reduce stress on soldiers and their families. You can learn more about how the Army plans to boost its numbers by going to Army.mil/growthearmy.
The Army's assignments branch is reaching out to soldiers who have not yet deployed to a combat zone. It's part of an effort to reduce the strain on soldiers who have deployed more than once. The U.S. Army Human Resources Command says only about 7%, or about 37,000 soldiers, have not yet deployed. The assignments branch tracks and monitors those soldiers and will swap them out with Joes set for a second or third rotation to Iraq or Afghanistan.
This fall, the Army's pay and personnel systems will merge into one. DIMERS, or Defense Integrated Military Human Resources System, is due to launch in October. The Army wants to make sure all soldiers know it's coming and to be trained up before it's implemented.
Everyone's a user of DIMERS. It's not just the HR users. So we have self-service. Every manager who supervises a soldier, including a DA civilian that supervises a soldier, will have to be trained up on DIMERS. So that's 1.3 million users.
DIMERS is a platform designed by a commercial company called PeopleSoft and is being used by Walmart, FedEx, and Toyota.
The Army's very own beauty queen will take a shot at the Miss America 2008 title. Sergeant Jill Stevens is a member of the Utah National Guard's 1st Battalion 211th Aviation Regiment. A combat medic and Miss Utah 2007, Stevens travels around the country to spread the word on emergency preparedness and give motivational talks. The chance to serve and help others, much like she does in uniform, attracted her to pageantry.
If it ever were to happen, me becoming Miss America, wow, a dream. And I would love to represent the country, and I do see it that it would be great to represent the people in that way, especially as a soldier, and especially at this time with the war going on.
And this year, for the first time ever, America can help choose one contestant for the top 16 finalists. The Miss America pageant is set for January 26th in Las Vegas.
The last of the 9 new Stryker simulators delivered to Army installations is now operational at Fort Benning, Georgia. The new simulator is a variant of the Common Driver Trainer. It has a 180-degree visual display and provides a full-motion simulation to teach drivers how to use the 19-ton vehicle effectively.
You can put them in how you're going to react to gunfire, how you're going to react to explosion, rocking, what if all your power goes out, lights. So you're able to throw all that in there.
It's time to give a big Army hooah to the stations that bring Army Newswatch into your home, and especially to Rustler TV, serving Riverton and Landers, Wyoming.
And local Channel 11 in Reedsburg, Wisconsin. Thanks for watching.
Don't go away. We'll check out some of the new gadgets that could change the Army's combat capabilities on the battlefield.
And we'll see some of the improvements Fort Stewart is making while 3rd ID troops are deployed. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Any questions?
No.
You know.
We're not magicians, we can't read your mind.
We answer questions, each and every kind.
We'll just react with my other medicine. Hey, what are all these tests even for?
What can I buy with 2 rectangles?
A bus ride.
Right. Good job, honey.
When you talk with your child, you build vocabulary, and learning starts long before school does. For more tips, go to bornlearning.org.
So lost. No, I am not, man. Shoot, it's on my phone. No, the road. Whoa, okay.
How would you like to save your life from an ugly, reckless driving death? Don't answer yet. There's more. Act now by slowing down, and we'll guarantee you complete satisfaction. That's awesome!
In the real world, there is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up.
Whoa, Andy, slow down.
Welcome back. When it comes to rebuilding Iraq, local councils represent hope for a fresh start. Air Force Sergeant Lee Bellinger joined U.S. soldiers as they took to the muhallas, or neighborhoods of Baghdad, for their first mission of 2008.
Morning on the first day of 2008. The soldiers of Outlaw Troop prepare for the year's first mission.
We're heading over to muhallas, to Blackfoot. That's what we're ripping today.
Ripping, or RIP, is relief in place. This is a way for Outlaw Troop to introduce the new crew to their neighborhood.
We're going to bring them through, show them where the important people live in the sector, buildings, some nodes.
Their destination is the Cart District in central Baghdad. They've been responsible for 2 muhallas here since their arrival in August. So they know this place inside and out.
You don't want to just give a guy a thing with a map and say, here you go, knock yourself out. Because basically any progress that we may have made gets all thrown out the window if we don't, give them some idea of what's going on.
So Outlaw Troop meets up with the new crew from Blackfoot Troop. And for the next 3 hours, they walk the streets of this muhalla, greeting old friends, showing the new crew the neighborhood, and even doing some police work. An Iraqi man has complained to the soldiers that he was assaulted by these women. Turns out he'd been drinking and not exactly an innocent party, so he was told to steer clear. This is just one of the many responsibilities that come with overseeing this muhalla.
It's really important that they understand that we're here to help them, and when I meet them and continue the relationships with them that they had previously, it helps reinforce the fact that we're here to help them.
And it promises to be a busy year as these soldiers continue improving the security situation in Iraq, one muhalla at a time. Air Force Sergeant Lee Bellinger, Baghdad.
With safety a top priority for Iraqi police, American MPs have set up a new course to train the Iraqis to protect their own. Staff Sergeant Addie Collins has the story.
There are fewer jobs more dangerous in Iraq than being a member of the Iraqi police force. But in spite of the increased danger, and because of it, Iraqi police from several districts recently trained with the 164th Military Police Company to learn basic operations which allow them to better protect themselves and their communities.
We're trying to teach IPs basic duties of IPs and some of the combat skills. We go through specific training in station security, basic movements, mounted, dismounted, checkpoint operations.
No! Instructors range in rank from private to sergeant first class, but they purposely don't wear their rank or name tapes during the 2-week course.
Out here we have private IPs all the way through majors. Why will a major want to listen to a private telling him what to do? They're a soldier, they are an instructor. That's all they need to know, is that these guys are here to teach them.
Anonymity among the Iraqis is also key to the success of the course. They come from different tribes and religious backgrounds, which have historically been on bad terms. To eliminate problems based on the students' last names, the instructors assigned each IP the name of a cartoon character.
Hey, sit down.
Mickey is the Trigger Course class leader and a 19-year veteran of the Iraqi police force.
This is the first time we are in this kind of training, and it's the best training I've ever seen. The people I'm with the training right now will go back to their stations and positions. They will do better.
Reporting from Fog Kalawada for the 316th Expeditionary Sustainment Command, I'm Army Sergeant Addie Collins.
A skilled police force is vital to Afghanistan as well. 6 years after the 9/11 attacks, the country faces an upsurge in violence and threats from inside and outside its borders. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is managing more than $1 billion in projects in support of the Afghan National Security Force. On any given day, 11,000 Afghanis are at work on Corps projects there. This may grow to more than 20,000 this year. The Chief of Engineers saw the capacity building efforts firsthand.
This is a country that's been at war for 30 years. And a lot of their resources were stripped, but the Afghan people are a tremendously hardworking people. They want to make it better for their children, and so there'll be Afghani workers lined up at the bus stop to get on the project site. They'll be there at 3 and 4 in the morning to be there by the time that work starts. That is an amazing thing.
91% of all workers on Corps projects there are Afghani.
With an ever-changing enemy and battle environment, the Air Assault Expeditionary Force develops unmanned reconnaissance technology and new battlefield networking capabilities that link soldiers with commanders. Ron Anders explains how these technologies can transform the Army's combat capabilities.
The Air Assault Expeditionary Force. It's the premier live discovery experiment for the United States Army, and it's run by the Soldier Battle Lab here at Fort Benning.
A lot of what we experiment with goes directly to the soldiers in combat today.
The experiment, now in its 4th year, tests, evaluates, and improves emerging technologies and concepts for integration into the battlefield.
We look at technologies that are coming out of industry that may be of benefit to the individual soldier and the Army.
These technologies provide soldiers with better situational awareness and better intelligence on the enemy, which gives them a decisive advantage and can save the lives of the warfighters who use them.
There's a lot of interest in small unmanned aerial vehicles. There's a lot of interest in robotics. We have all of that here. We have even large vehicles that are robotically controlled, unmanned systems.
Networking the soldiers with unmanned technologies, sensor systems, and state-of-the-art communications enhances their capabilities, effectiveness, and safety in battle.
This whole experiment is very important to the Army. The Army has made a significant investment here at Fort Benning.
This experiment continues the Army's evolution of merging soldiers with modern technologies to create a safer, better informed, and more lethal warrior.
Anything that you can use that's unmanned that helps you prevent a soldier going into harm's way, there's a lot of interest in that.
The AAEF experiment has been so successful that TRADOC has decided to extend the campaign for several more years, continuing the campaign to protect and better equip our soldiers for battle today and in the future. Ron Andrus, Fort Benning, Georgia.
Most of the soldiers stationed at Fort Stewart, Georgia have spent much of the last several years deployed to the Middle East. In their absence, the Public Works Department has improved training areas by removing timber and creating hardened water crossings. James Williams has more.
With most soldiers deployed to the Middle East, Fort Stewart has turned eerily quiet. No troops, no tanks, but the absence of soldiers allows the root system in this training area to recover from past exercises.
You're actually getting to see this thing grow up. In vegetation, which is actually better. The root systems actually help stabilize it even more.
Tanks used to run through this area as they pleased. Forester Jeff Mangan says that lowered water quality and degraded the wetland by forcing silt and sediment into the water.
But it was also causing the troops to bog down. They were constantly getting stuck trying to cross these things and having to extract these heavy pieces of armor out of these wetlands.
That took away from training time. But these hardened water crossings allow troops to maneuver from one training area to another while keeping the waters clean and the wetlands preserved. Before troops can move into new training areas, loggers must first clear paths by removing timber.
The thinning required for the endangered species, like the red-coated woodpecker, and maneuver are very similar. So if you get that thin, open, park-like forest, tanks can drive through there and then the endangered species thrive.
When the soldiers come home, they'll find some new and some improved training areas that can sustain exercises for years to come. James Williams, Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Still to come, the Army's top spouse sits down with our Gail McCabe.
And we'll head to Texas for the U.S. Army All-American Bowl.
Don't go away. More of the stories that make America's Army are up next.
Mom! Mom!
What?
Can't find Ichabod.
What?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
You wouldn't treat a crash test dummy like a child. So why treat a child like a crash test dummy? If they're under 4'9", they need a booster seat. Learn more at boosterseat.gov.
Welcome back. 90 of the country's top high school football players battled it out on the gridiron at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. But the U.S. Army All-American Bowl is more than just a game. It's a week-long celebration of the connection between the Army and high school athletics. Sergeants Ray Flores, Mike O'Brien, and Kimberly Williams have more.
Consider the Army All-American Bowl the Super Bowl of high school football.
90 of the nation's biggest and baddest are hand-selected by national recruiting experts. Hey, can I ask you, how old are you? 18? Life is so unfair sometimes.
The week-long festivities are not only a tribute to the men and women who are physically strong, but are also Army strong. Even the soldiers got to get in on some of the action. Even though these players can score big in front of a national audience, the real touchdown is how many connections the Army makes with America.
Family and friends got to see what the Army's all about at the Army Strong Zone.
And they even got a peek at where the Army's going with future concept warrior gear just like this.
Actually, year after year, it's piqued my son's interest a little bit more each year.
And what better way to make an impression last than a skydive adventure with the Golden Knights?
Sessions Command brought their whole arsenal when it comes to recruiting tools. The Army also invited 91 of the finest high school senior marching musicians to San Antonio.
And the All-American Marching Band brings a rhythm that's Army strong. Hey guys, where are you going? I wasn't that bad, was I?
Hundreds of high school underclassmen are also in San Antonio for the U.S. Army All-American Combine. This is their first chance to show their skills at the national level in front of scouts and coaches.
Even a former NFL player got a lasting impression from the U.S. Army All-American Bowl.
Had you had this exposure growing up to the Army?
No, not at all. I mean, not at all. When I was young, getting ready to go to college, there was nothing like this at all. So I think it's fantastic for these kids to get exposed to the Army and to see just what's going on and really to make them realize that this is just a game.
Over 36,000 in attendance here in San Antonio, a new AAB record.
Final score, East 33, West 23.
From the Alamo Dome, I'm Sergeant Kimberly Williams.
And for Sergeant Raymond Flores, I'm Sergeant Mike O'Brien.
While the Army uses football to recruit, it's turning to its top spouse to retain troops. The Army recognizes that keeping a soldier means taking care of his or her family. Who better to understand that sentiment than the Army's senior spouse, wife of the Army Chief of Staff, Sheila Casey. Gail McCabe caught up with her in Atlanta.
Because all this stuff takes its toll.
Sheila Casey understands the connection between an effective soldier and the care given to his or her family. As the Army's senior spouse, she's using all of her expertise in making sure the relation between them is kept up front and center.
We have to be very, very careful because if you lose the family, you lose the soldier.
Casey is a military spouse of almost 4 decades, mother, grandmother, and D.C.-based corporate executive. As the wife of Army Chief of Staff General George Casey, she is talking to members of the Army family around the globe. She says the issues she's hearing are pretty much the same across the board. Sheila Casey says the sum total of her experiences are coming to bear in her current position as the Army senior spouse.
So you learn how to listen, you learn how to make decisions.
She has a vision of Army families learning to take care of themselves. She says the Army Family Covenant is a tool in the right direction.
I think it is a vehicle to communicate to families what it is that the military can assist them in doing.
Casey feels better understanding of military spouses and their families is needed across the nation, that they need to know that being part of the Army at all levels is voluntary, especially now in times of combat.
We understand how important it is, and we're going to do what we
She says as the Army senior spouse, she will continue to be a strong voice for the concerns of Army families. According to Sheila Casey, hers is just one of many.
As a senior spouse, I can keep it in the forefront. I think that all military spouses, all service members should work at keeping that in the forefront.
Gail McCabe, Atlanta.
The Army has had its hands full caring for wounded soldiers returning from the desert. It's been almost a year since the Army Medical Action Plan, or AMAP, was set up in response to the many problems with the Army's healthcare system. So how are we doing? For the answer to that, we go to our medical editor, Dr. Paul Little. Sir?
Yes, Steve, so how are we doing? You know, the Army made some big changes last spring when they created AMAP. So I sat down with some of the movers and shakers to find out just how far we've come.
The huge problem, regardless of what is done here, is to re-earn the trust of the patients here.
Early spring 2007, Staff Sergeant John Shannon and other wounded warriors tell Congress the Army's medical evaluation and disability systems are broken. And the Vice Chief of Staff commits the Army to fixing the problem.
We didn't have a system in place to listen, to truly listen to our patients and their families and understand their needs.
Colonel Chip Pierce was the troop commander at Tripler Army Hospital. Now he's the deputy director of the Warrior Transition Office.
We weren't looking at the entire process through their eyes. Now we believe, that system in place to better understand what's going through our patients' lives.
That system now consists of 35 warrior transition units all over the globe. They have a unique core triad of a physician case manager, a nurse care manager, and an NCO to make sure all medical and administrative issues stay on track. Since last spring, the W2Us have reduced the number of cases by half. And Pierce says if soldiers have problems, they listen and respond.
They have absolute right to recourse and can address that through the Ombudsman program, through our hotline, or even the leadership within their medical treatment facility.
If you're having problems, let your case manager know or call the Wounded Soldier and Family Hotline. Dr. Paul Little, Washington.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to the latest recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross.
Stick around. We'll be right back.
Do you know that stroke targets by color? If you're African American, you're twice as likely to suffer a stroke as white Americans. Join the power to end stroke at strokeassociation.org.
What is your problem, man?
You're welcome.
What the heck is wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Don't give me that. All right. What's going on here, fellas?
The missile was about to hit the school. I just acted as fast as I could.
That doesn't change the fact that I don't have a car anymore. Who just throws a person's car at a missile?
You're serious?
Yeah. Who's going to pay for my car?
I guess I could.
Do you even have a real job?
Yes.
Do you have insurance?
I saw the whole thing. Call me.
Welcome back. Sergeant Greg Williams is the latest soldier to receive the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second highest award for valor. With both eardrums blown and his body on fire, Sergeant Williams saved the life of his platoon leader and manned a .50 caliber machine gun to fight back during an intense ambush. Staff Sergeant Ray Flores is here with a story.
Steve, it's pretty hard to imagine how intense a firefight really is, but now you won't have to imagine it. During Sergeant Williams' firefight, another soldier had a helmet camera recording the action. We couldn't use the video, but what you can hear is what it was like on October 30th, 2006, right after Williams' vehicle was ambushed and a fireball filled the striker.
Yes, people on that side screaming. On the left of the vehicle.
Just the way the flames came out of each hatch is like, the first thing I told Dowdy was like, get your stuff, I think they're dead.
The EFP pierced the striker's armor, penetrating the engine compartment, sending a fireball through the vehicle and shrapnel through Lieutenant Willard's lower torso.
Reloading! Medic! Medic!
Medic! Gunner wasn't up. I'm fighting for my life. I don't know what my guys over here are doing. I don't know if they're dead. I don't know who's dead. I don't know what's going on.
I jumped out of the vehicle with the aid bag to give my guys first aid because I still didn't realize we were getting shot at. And
2 bullets ricocheted off our side armor and was maybe a few inches from my head, so that kind of pissed me off, and so I dropped the bag and started shooting down.
That's when all hell just literally broke loose. It was guys shooting from their T-barriers. I didn't even see those guys. They were only like 25 meters in front of us.
Oh, the night just was crazy. You had bullets flying at your feet. You had grenades going off on the side. Rubble coming down over your head.
Specialist Driscoll, who was still on fire, back of his armor and by his neck was still on fire, and he didn't even think about that before he started returning fire to suppress the enemy.
I really didn't do anything. It's like I blacked out and my training just took over.
It felt no different than when we were out doing training, getting shot at with sim rounds.
We don't know where it's coming from yet. It's firing. We don't know.
Under enemy fire, Sergeant Williams rushed back into the smoldering striker to recover Lieutenant Willard.
We did, sir. Calm down. Calm down.
We got this, sir.
It's quite a rush. Just being out there helping somebody that you know, it's a good feeling.
Doc came running up to me, and at that time I heard the 50 cal just steadily rocking, and I was like, yes.
Under the barrage of heavy 50 caliber fire, the enemy was forced to take cover and was only able to fire on the soldiers when Sergeant Williams was reloading.
There's a big difference between any other machine gun and that 50 cal. You start hearing that 50 cal rocking, and it's just pure intimidation.
Tracers going through a car and brick walls that the enemy was behind.
It's a comforting sound. It sounds weird, but it's a comforting sound to hear that 50 cal.
Guy with a weapons jam, another guy in the back. You're the only guy shooting on the ground. Then you hear another striker pull up and the 50 cal's rocking. It's the best feeling.
Sergeant Williams' heroic actions saved his platoon leader's life, turned the course of the engagement, and forced the enemy to flee from the withering 50 cal fire, leaving blood trails behind them.
Yeah, I couldn't thank them enough. You know, I owe both of those guys my life.
I didn't really have any hard decisions to make that day. They were all pretty crystal clear to me.
His actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of military heroism and reflect distinct credit upon himself, this command, and the United States Army.
Well, it's nice to see today's heroes getting their due recognition.
Yes, it is.
That does it for this edition of Army Newswatch.
Join us again next time for the stories that make America's Army.